Well, very much welcome to everybody, and we've got a good cross-section of people here. We're holding this conference on this day because 12 years ago to the day, Weather Action was floated on the stock exchange. We then got into a bit of a dot-com bubble and we delisted, but we're still around, unlike many at the time. 1 year ago today, the UK Parliament passed a Climate Change Act. Which is probably the first act by a British Parliament where they voted to defy reality. And that's why we call it Climate Fool's Day. Now, today we're going to refute totally the CO2 theory of global warming. We are going to explain key ideas behind the solar weather technique, which haven't been explained before. It won't be everything, because that would take 2 days. But it'll be some key things to help you understand why it works and how it works. And then we're going to produce some long-range forecasts for big events coming in November, for example, and a bit about the winter. Now, the carbon dioxide theory of global warming has been refuted, and it is totally failed. And the fact that it is wrong doesn't mean that people have to say, well, how do you do it then? I mean, it's wrong because it's wrong. It doesn't work because the facts do not accord with the theory. When people found the world wasn't, well, some people said the world was round. Now, when people disputed it, I mean, they haven't been arguing, well, why isn't the world flat? I mean, we don't talk about that anymore. Once we've disproved the CO2 theory, there's not really much need to debate why it doesn't work. However, I will say there's kind of two groups around. Some say the greenhouse warming effect itself is theoretically nonsense. And others say, well, there is a greenhouse effect, but it's totally negated by feedback processes such as plant transpiration. Either way, the CO2 theory doesn't work. Now, we asked publicly and in writing a number of organisations to come here and give scientific observational evidence showing that CO2 drives temperatures and climate. You see the empty chair. That is where they stand. Now, we asked on TV, on Sky News, the campaign, we asked Greenpeace, we asked the campaign against climate change, and we copied this information into the Grantham Centre for Climate Change, which is in Imperial College. I have to decide if they're for or against climate change, but anyway, they're in the same boat. Nobody has come. Nobody has come. And they're the people who said, we want debate. Okay, we want debate. We are here to have the debate. Now, when I came to Imperial College 44 years ago, and I notice, yes, my successor as president of the union is laughing because she came 43 years ago, I think, yes, okay. I was a bright-eyed young physicist, student physicist, who wore a crumpled suit. And I was here to study and fight for testable science, accountable science, and change the world. And we were told that you had to test theory against facts. And if the facts didn't meet the theory had to be discarded. Fair enough. I agree with that view. However, there's another way of dealing with it. If the theory doesn't meet the facts, you can discard the facts. Why not? Stalin did it with the Lysenko debate. The Nazis did it. And, now they're not the same sort of people, okay, they're different. But the global warmers have also done it. They've wiped away the medieval warm period. The hockey stick temperature graph is fraudulent. Now, I'll just say that now, but there's others who will give clear evidence of that. Now, that being the case, you have to, some people say to me, look, Piers, why don't you just get on with your forecasting and don't talk about this silly stuff, this CO2 stuff? Now, I would, but the trouble is, you see, that it would be immoral to ignore the CO2, failed theory, while it is causing people to hold back third world development and make a weapon of mass taxation, if you like. But that apart, there's another reason. Even if we say nothing, the reason why a lot of people don't like us, maybe because we're rude at them sometimes, but the reason why they don't like us is not because of what we say, it's because of what we do. You see, the CO2 theory said there will be global warming. There's no global warming, so now they say, oh, it's climate change. Climate change, extreme events. But we can forecast these extreme events using the sun. So where is the basis for their scare stories? They're not here. So they have to do everything to undermine us. And they attack everything we say because they hope if they can prove us wrong, they must be right. Well, sorry, no. The CO2 theory is wrong because it fails. The theory and the facts do not agree. Now, the situation we're in now is a bit like that of John Harrison, who was measuring longitude, if you remember, in the 18th century. He measured it. He showed it worked. There was a group of 3 bodies had to decide should he get the prize or not. There was the science establishment, there were the politicians, and the Navy. The science establishment was totally against him. Why? Well, because they wanted some idea that flowed from Newton to be right, and that was it. The politicians, they didn't care. And the Navy, yes, they did care. Harrison saved lives. And it was that which forced the scientists in the establishment to recognise Harrison. But later. It took him decades to be recognised and rewarded, which is monstrous. It's monstrous. Despite the fact, looking back, it was his work which paved the way for the reason why you're here now at an international conference speaking English. It was because Britain ruled the world because they could navigate better than anyone else, thanks to John Harrison. The situation we're in now, though, is worse. Because if you look at the 3 groups, we have the science establishment, which is, obsessed with the CO2 theory and against certain things we say, although some of them are interested, let's be very clear. We do have some strong support as a minority. Secondly is the politicians, who are mostly telling the scientists what to do so they can raise taxes. And thirdly, there are the users. And again, it's the users which are going to win in the end. Farmers, people hit by typhoons and tornadoes, they are the ones who need our forecasts. And in the end, they will decide and force the politicians to act and force the scientists who are ignoring accountable science to actually go for accountable science. So I'm going to end by saying, we're going to say a lot later, we will publish a lot more, and it will take a day or 2 or a whole day of conferences maybe next year, and you will be there. And in the meantime, I urge you to join us in the fight for accountability in science and public life. Thank you.